Inanda's streets are overrun by a gang of young recruits. Between 500 to 1,000 West Gang members in a single area, growing stronger as they recruit troubled boys from broken backgrounds. They don't just terrorize the community, they enforce the will of powerful men behind bars, receiving money and drugs in exchange for their brutality. Should we call Mnqobi their leader? Well, maybe he is just a messenger answering to higher powers. On February 8th, 2025. Following an intense standoff, 3 suspects have been taken down in a deadly shootout. These men were not just petty criminals. They were linked to a series of murders and assassination attempts, including those of police officers. The SAP's Inanda task team, working alongside the Metro Police Special Operations Directorate, had been tracking this group for weeks. Acting on intelligence, they moved in on a house in this very neighborhood, where the suspects were hiding. What followed was a fierce gun battle. Bullets tore through the walls as officers engaged in a life-or-death struggle. When the dust settled, 3 gang members lay dead. This is the full story of the shootout between the police and the Inanda West Gang. Welcome back to my channel. Kindly like and subscribe. This video explores the rise and impact of the Inanda West Gang, a group of young criminals responsible for a wave of violence and fear in their communities. Their activities have contributed to a surge in crime across Durban North and nearby areas, turning once peaceful neighborhoods into hotspots of danger. These individuals thrive on lawlessness, showing little regard for human life. The gang has been linked to a range of violent offenses, including murders, assaults, drug distribution, carjackings, and home invasions. Their reign of terror has left many residents living in constant fear, with attacks happening during everyday activities. Even those in the Community Policing Forum, CPF, who have taken a stand against them, have been targeted. In June 2024, a CPF member was fatally attacked at his residence in the Zangu area. That same night, the gang launched another assault in Newtown C, where they killed a second CPF member in front of his wife. A week earlier, they had already claimed another victim, yet another CPF member shot and killed in the area. By July 2024, the violence escalated further when law enforcement tracked down 3 individuals linked to multiple homicides, including the killing of Sergeant Thabete. These suspects were confronted by police in the Inanda Kono area and ultimately lost their lives in the ensuing confrontation. Sergeant Thabete, a committed officer from the KwaMushu tracking team, had been ambushed, disarmed, and killed with his own service weapon. In another incident that same month, a suspect was shot and killed by law enforcement in Escalin Mangala after he attempted to fire at officers. Earlier that day, he had been involved in an ATM bombing at a local business. A major police operation in Inanda led to a dramatic shootout that left 6 suspects dead. Officers, acting on intelligence, tracked the gang to a hideout. These individuals, linked to multiple crimes such as home invasions, carjackings, murders, and business robberies, immediately opened fire when confronted by police. By the end of the gunfight, 6 suspects had been neutralized, while 3 others, including 2 men and a 31-year-old woman, were taken into custody. Earlier in March 2024, the gang was also suspected of involvement in the brutal murder of Durban art dealer Alan Gordon. Reports suggest that 2 men who had been living and working with Gordon in his Durban North home violently beat him to death. Investigators believe the suspects placed his body in the trunk of his VW SUV, drove to a remote area in Inanda, set his remains on fire, and returned the vehicle to his home in an apparent attempt to conceal their crime. Concerns arose when Gordon's brother reported him missing. CPF members and police officers arrived at his residence to investigate. With assistance from neighbors, authorities tracked down the 2 men who had been staying with Gordon. One suspect reportedly confessed to the crime. Investigators, working swiftly and with the help of informants, located 3 additional suspects hiding in Mavuti, Inanda. A separate intelligence-led operation targeted a young but notorious gang leader, Mnqobi, and his two accomplices. They were reportedly en route to Mnqobi to retrieve weapons and narcotics. To evade detection, they switched vehicles after their pickup, but officers had already identified their movements and were tracking them closely. The pursuit led to Vincent Dickinson Road in Cottonlands, where the suspects stopped their vehicle, unaware of the police presence closing in. When officers approached, the gang opened fire, resulting in a gunfight. The confrontation ended with the deaths of 22-year-old Mnqobi and his 27-year-old associate, while a third suspect managed to flee and remains at large. Mnqobi had been wanted for multiple violent crimes, including over 10 homicides, as well as attempted murders, robberies, intimidation, and arson. Authorities recovered a firearm from his possession. Despite law enforcement's efforts, the Inanda West Gang continues to pose a threat. Following their leader's death, some members relocated to other areas, such as Bamshela, north of Ndwedwe, where they have continued their criminal activities. The fear among residents persists as the gang adapts and regroups. The true masterminds behind these criminal operations often remain hidden, recruiting young individuals to execute their plans. Mnqobi and his group were likely working for a larger network, carrying out tasks on behalf of suppliers or more powerful figures in the criminal underworld. To dismantle these operations effectively, authorities must target those orchestrating the crimes rather than just eliminating foot soldiers, who are easily replaced by younger recruits eager to prove themselves. This endless cycle allows gang activity to persist. However, there is a growing sense of support from the community for law enforcement's crackdown on crime. Recent operations have proven more effective, and as more criminals are brought to justice, residents are beginning to feel a renewed sense of hope. While the fight against the Inanda West Gang is far from over, each successful operation brings law-abiding citizens one step closer to reclaiming their communities. The rise of the Inanda West Gang is a stark reminder of how deeply crime can take root in communities when poverty, lack of opportunity, and powerful criminal networks go unchecked. While law enforcement has made significant strides in disrupting the gang's activities, the battle is far from over. The gang's ability to recruit vulnerable young boys and maintain its operations despite losing key members shows that the real challenge lies in dismantling the system that enables these groups to thrive. To truly break the cycle of violence, authorities must go beyond eliminating individual gang members and focus on targeting the masterminds behind these operations. At the same time, social interventions are needed to provide alternatives for at-risk youth who are easily lured into a life of crime. Without addressing the root causes, the next generation of gang members is already waiting in the shadows, ready to take the place of those who fall. Each arrest, each successful operation, and each act of defiance against these gangs brings hope that one day, the people of Inanda and surrounding areas will no longer have to live in fear. The fight for justice is ongoing, and the road ahead is long. But as long as communities and law enforcement stand together, there is a chance to turn the tide against the violence that has gripped these streets for far too long. Thank you for watching. Kindly like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comment below. See you in our next video.